I hope you know that currently there's somebody called it a pandemic.
Well, yeah.
Yes, but there is a trend of people losing weight now.
Yeah,
And it's going to become full scale very soon.
exactly.
Yeah.
I want to ask another question, please. I don't know how much it costs to get a regular BBL
You say
here in
regular.
Nigeria. Because it's not a regular thing. Everybody's doing it. So, like, average costs.
I wish I could put a figure to it, but of course it will run into a
Yeah,
couple
so
of
it's in
millions.
range, yeah. Would you get a BBL?
I mean, it's just a Brazilian bottle. It's not really big.
Going under the knife
Mm.
to do that, I don't think so.
In this age and time of social media and people just being allowed to do whatever they want to do, there's been this conversation around body positivity. My body, my choice, right? And I feel like there's this idea of people trying to police other people's bodies. I don't believe it is policing, but there's an aspect of it that looks like it. So today on the podcast, we want to dissect this angle of the conversation. And let's really dig deep into it to see if there are other angles to look at. Are we really policing people when we tell them to look a certain way? You're welcome to the Center Side podcast, where we have thought-provoking conversations around social issues, cultural issues, and everything in between. My name is Oga Peter. And of course, when we're talking about body, right, the emphasis is usually around female body. And there's no way we're talking about body that we will not have a woman to talk about it. The usual culprit, Fine Boy Sam, is here. So you don't need any introduction. We have a very wonderful friend in our midst. A very beautiful, I mean, what a beaut, right? Again, if you want to talk about body and beauty standards, right, it only makes sense to have a beautiful person to talk about it with. So we have Omo Wonuola Dantes. I'm calling this name for the very first time, right? Thank you so much for coming around.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, okay. So, it feels like each time we have a very beautiful person on the podcast, I have to take a deep breath to gather my thoughts. So today I'm not going to be distracted. Amen?
Amen.
Okay. So beauty standards, right? You've heard phrases like my body, my choice. Now, at the surface of it, it makes sense because truly it's your body. It's your choice, right? But what do you think about that statement?
My body, my choice. I believe that to a large extent, your body, or whatever you decide to do with it, whatever change you decide to make, it's your choice. Right? So whatever you want to do, whatever you want to fix, whatever you think is not great, you don't like, it's not attractive to you, even as a person, the owner of the body, you can always make adjustments. However, I think what's more important is to find the root cause of, or ask yourself, why am I trying to make this change? What's the reason? Is there a medical reason behind it?
Yeah.
Is it because I want to look a certain way? Is it an idea of a social construct that has been already established and I'm trying to just fit in?
Yeah.
There are so many angles to look at it from. But at the end of the day, whatever you choose to do is your decision.
It's essentially your choice.
Yes, but the why is very important, and the why should be a major thing you check before you actually do any change or make any change.
But should the why make sense to someone else? Like, I mean, everybody has a why. It's just that some people don't even know the why. Like, they don't have a conscious understanding of the why. For example, if I want to do a nose job, for example, it's because I don't like the way my nose looks. It's a why, right? Does it have to make sense to someone else?
I don't think it has to make sense to someone else. Again, it's your life, it's your body, it is your decision. It doesn't have to make sense to the next person, because the truth is, no matter what kind of change you make, it probably would not make sense to anybody else. And you may think something doesn't look good and the other person and somebody else thinks it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like somebody else can say, you don't look good in this aspect. Maybe your lips are somehow protruded or maybe they are too full. And you think it looks okay. So you don't think there's any need for any change.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think it has to make sense to any other person. It has to make sense to you because you're the one who will live with the consequences or the benefits of that decision that you make.
Yeah, but there's a sense in which other people also have to deal with the consequences.
Other people like who?
For example, say you want to get a tattoo.
Okay.
Right? And then your parents, your mother, says...
Mother specifically.
Yeah. And your mother says, no, especially as a female.
Okay.
Right? Because, so you mentioned social constructs. So I'm trying to bring it in the conversation.
Okay.
It doesn't portray you as a decent person. Yeah, that's the sentiment. That would be the sentiment. Why should a decent person from a decent home, a Christian home, get a tattoo? So what would be a why for getting a tattoo?
Okay. I think at some point I nursed the idea of getting a tattoo, but I've never really brought myself to doing it.
Because of the pain.
Maybe not really because of the pain, but because I have not reconciled it in my mind that I'm going to live with an ink on my body. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. But I know where I'll get a tattoo if I want one today or tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure everybody does.
There are a lot of people looking for
to
offer you that service.
Exactly.
But in your consideration,
Yes.
did you think about how your parents or family would think about, what would they say or how would they feel about it?
I did, but if I wanted to get a tattoo maybe 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, well.
One, because of age, and I know that I will get a lot of pushbacks and I will not be able to handle all of that pushbacks, right? Because, of course, I was not an adult. Somebody else was fully responsible for me and helping me to make certain life decisions. But now I've come of age.
Yeah.
Right? So I can
can
decide to get that now and damn the consequences and not really care what any other person would say. Of course, I'm not going to pour the ink all over my body. Maybe just start small and then build up from there if I want to get more.
Okay. Then I want to take this thing from another angle. I mean, you talked about Christian or something home. When they say, okay, you said my body, my choice, and you explain everything. So is the body not still the temple of Christ? What is happening to the temple of Christ?
So there's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
One, and are we not created in God's own image where we look perfect, just like how he looks, just like his image? So, and so I heard a preaching where a pastor was for new married people was like, you cannot satisfy your wife. God that gave this your wife lashes and went to go and still get extended one to put that gave her the necessary things and still the beautiful face and still feels like she needs makeup to make it look beautiful, that you cannot satisfy. So we as humans, we are still insatiable with our bodies and things that people feel like you're good, you're perfect. There's a young man that had a nose, I've forgotten his name, had a nose job. Yes, and everybody's like, he looked, he's a funny guy, regular. He's a funny guy, and that was part of this that made him look funny. Right. Not funny like making jest of him, but the face was the costume. Yeah. But when he changed it, no matter whatever skit he wants to do now, it doesn't look the same anymore.
Yeah.
He might have probably done it for some medical reasons. We don't know. I'm not sure of what happened. But it was just
cosmetic.
It's just cosmetic.
You don't know if he wants to diversify.
He probably doesn't want to do that skit all his life.
All his life he wants to change something and everything. But I mean, that's what we know him for, and that's what we see him as.
Yeah.
He sings. He's a very good singer. That's where it started from. But a lot of people don't live in that part. So he moved into skit making, and maybe that one is not paying off, and he wants to do something else. And
I mean, for Zeke, for example, why is it everybody's business?
That's what I want to say. Because
personally, I would have loved that he didn't get a nose job done, but I didn't.
He put it to our face. He was telling us the process, everything. So he was putting it to our face. So people out there would also.
Person, that's part of the.
Yes. So once you're a public person, once you're out there, expect public opinion.
So
expect public praise or public outrage. So once you're a public person, people know you with a particular, they know you of course, we already know him as a comedian or a
speed
speed
maker.
That is what we know him as. We know how he looks, how he dresses,
How he
when
dresses,
he's making
when-
his skits,
yeah.
how his face is always funny.
Funny,
It was
yeah.
always a target point for people
Exactly.
to ridicule him the
True,
more.
yes.
You know, but now he's making a change, right? Maybe he's thinking long term. He doesn't. Has anybody even ever thought about his own personal insecurities?
Exactly.
Has he been insecure about his nose for the longest time, and then he probably did not have enough finances to make that change, but now he's able to do that and he wants to do it.
But insecurities, right? When you mention social construct, is it possible that some of the insecurities people have about their bodies, it's coming from outside because there's a certain standard that the society has built? You know, you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way for you to feel for you to feel beautiful, to feel handsome. So people have to, for example, at a point, everybody wanted to be fair.
Yes.
So they were bleaching and all of that. At some point, people wanted to be slim.
Yeah.
And shedding weight and all of that. And people would force themselves to do that. There are people who have died, trying to look a certain way. Now they are doing BBLs. So those insecurities, how genuine are they? Are you trying to meet up with certain standards? Is it possible that?
That's a really good one. Because yes, it's possible that you're trying to meet up with a certain standard. And that's why, there's something called beauty standards, which is like we already established earlier, it's a social construct of what people term as acceptable or desirable or attractive.
Yeah.
So it could be things like facial structure, body shape, skin tone even, and it even goes as far as presentation in terms of makeup, grooming, things like that. But if you want to really do a deep dive, you have to think of since when did we begin this whole beauty standard process?
Yeah.
It dates back to before Christ, BC, and even to date. So maybe let's say in early Egyptian times, there was a study I saw where there was a sculpted figure. The sculpted figure was a plump lady with round belly, a big chest, a big behind, big thighs, because at the time in Egypt, that was what was termed attractive to the as a woman. That was termed attractive. Then over time, things began to change, and globally as well, things began to change. Where at a particular time in history, we wanted ladies who were slim, or maybe ladies who were muscular, who had broad shoulders, who were more masculine, in appearance, was what was attractive or termed attractive at the time. Then again, we began to look for people who had full figure, the figure eight, the hourglass, the clinched waist, the high, the big hips, and all of that. Yes, so that was what was wanted at some point. Then if you look at even around the 1930s, that was when the era of corsets began.
Yeah. Which is now coming back.
It's not coming back, it's already here. So it started around the time of Queen Victoria. That was always termed as nice. Yes, there's the way they look, snatch at the waist, and then the full ball gown at the bottom. And that was the idea of corsets. That's when it started, because it gave women, it helped them to have that figure at the time. And then things began to change again. If you look at the early 2000s, the millennia, if you look at a lot of music videos, you'll see that the ladies there were slim.
Yes.
Very slender. Slender even, straight, but with the skimpy clothes, skimpy skirts, the crop tops, But now again, if you look at it, it's now plump ladies.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're not fitting. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's because the people that are always in our faces, the people some of us look up to, the people we engage online, a lot of materials that we've been exposed to over time. In the past it wasn't social media, in the past it was magazines.
Oh yes.
A lot of things that we've been exposed to, materials we've been exposed to over time, has really contributed to what we term as, okay, this is attractive or acceptable or desirable at this point in time. So yes, there's a social construct aspect to it, because at the end of the day, we are who we are. Everybody is not the same. Everybody is not built the same.
Yeah.
You know, genetics play a huge role in all of that.
True.
So there's a sort of programming, I'll call it programming, that has been over the years that people follow the trend. So now we're even talking about, you know, we want the full figure now, but I hope you know that currently there's somebody called it a pandemic.
Well, yeah.
Yes, but there is a trend of people losing weight now.
Yeah.
And it's going to become full scale very soon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Because that is,
what's her name? The lady that did, and everybody's asking if she has cancer. The actress.
Mercy Johnson.
Mercy Johnson,
Okay.
Yes. So I think that's also for health concerns on her part.
Yeah.
But you know, once people see that she's able to achieve that, other people will be like, if she can do it, I can do it. What's she using? What have you used? Tell us what you do. Ask her, what have you used? Tell us. You know, that then becomes an avenue to sell some products.
Yeah.
A situation where, say for example, my sister decided to get a baby, right? She can afford it. She's an adult, you know. But you're telling her, look, auntie, this is the other side of it.
Yes.
Say, no, you want to live in the now. You want to live in the now. Do you foresee any problem, you know, with this particular situation where everybody is getting? Do you have a friend that has gotten a baby?
Nobody in my
Do you
circle
know
has
anybody?
gotten that.
But
Nobody in my circle has gotten that. Nobody in my circle is considering it, to the best of my knowledge.
But
Why are you making it feel as if it's a big deal? Like if they considered it, you're making it feel like nobody.
No. But
It is a big deal.
It is a big
It's a big deal. So I'm
But let's say
those who are doing it now, so you think it's a big deal for
It
them.
is a
It is a
big
big deal.
And to be fair, a lot of them are doing it to sell market.
Yes, but that is it for them. So it's not a big deal for some people who are doing it, and that's what they want to do. Like we said, it's their choice. So it's not a big deal. So our response made it feel like they cannot get it. Like if they are getting it, I'm not sure this person will be my friend anymore. Hey, whoever gets BBL, you go and steal your own.
If your friends decide to get
Be honest.
Would I have a problem?
Yeah.
Initially, to be honest, I would have a problem with it because why are you getting it in the first place? I need to know your thought process.
Yeah.
Why are you getting it? What's the end goal? You know, and then this thing is there's so many risks involved. So we can even start from the benefits, right? One of the benefits is, of course, what is BBL? Fast transfer from one part of the body to the buttocks. You know, oh yeah, you read anatomy, so you know it's the gluteus maximus. Yes, that's the larger muscle in the buttocks, right? So that's where they infuse the fat, and that's why you say that sometimes a lot of ladies who go through this, some of them have to get fatter. If they were not on the big side normally, they will have to get fatter. It's chop up a bit, like you would say, and then they can then take fat from the other parts of their body. Maybe their stomach, if they want a clean waist, their stomach, their waist, their arms, and then they move it to the buttocks.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then it's not as risky as it used to be in the past.
Exactly.
So now that it has become mainstream, of course, more people know how to do it better.
Yeah.
More doctors know how to do it better in a more safe way. And then, you know, again, it is safer than implants.
Yes.
There used to be implants.
Yes, safer than bought implants that could burst anytime and then cause infection, sepsis, and the rest. So let us go into all of that. Yes. So it's easy for the fat to like melt and integrate into the body. Then, of course, the physical aspects, it makes you look a certain way, changes your appearance, makes you look, in quotes, more attractive to people. That's it. But then the consequences in the long term, or the cons, let me put it that way, in the long term are also there. Where one of the consequences is once the fat is absorbed, it can become over-absorbed, and then it doesn't give you what you actually want to see. So you now have to do another procedure to correct it, basically. How many times do you want to do that?
So like people
So you're still referring to your friend.
Yes.
People like
so then I'm talking about what is not what's it?
that I don't know.
So that would definitely need correction.
I don't know if the doctor that did it is doing house job. It's not giving what she thought he would give.
Yeah. So again,
and it's very obvious.
Yeah. No, I know she's aware about it, so I think she's trying to correct it. She's correct.
What's that lady? Okay.
So those are botched ones. The ones that don't look great. But you do know that there are some you see.
Yeah.
There's some you see and you'll be like, your doctor did a good job.
Good job.
Your doctor knows ball. You know?
Exactly.
There's some you see like that and you'll be like, this looks so nice. But then again, remember we are still talking about walk me through. I'm talking to my friend. I'm like, walk me through your thought process.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you want to get this? We've looked at the cons again. So again, another thing is the financial investment you're going to put into this. Do you have the money? You are my friend.
Yeah.
I know the way we spend money.
True.
Do you have the money for this thing? Are you sure it's something you want to do?
What if someone is funding it?
If somebody is funding it?
One
Yeah.
allergy.
Okay, well that means so you know that it's like it's not a one-off subscription. It requires maintenance.
Yeah.
So you do it one-off. What happens when you need to top up?
I mean,
Allergy is there now. Allergy likes it.
Would be
I
able
feel like
to
you
give
already.
you subscription.
So now you're coming from an angle where you think you already know why they want to get it.
Yep. I mean,
Or you already have like a preconceived notion as to why they're getting
We
it.
all know why most people get
Let's
it
be
because
fair.
of
Let's be
it.
fair.
Okay, let me get your thoughts. Why do you think they want?
I think most people are doing it because of it's just one. Some okay. For instance, some is just trend. This is what everybody's doing. People like trend here. This is what everybody's doing, so we follow suits.
Okay.
So that is why most people are doing it. While some are doing it, maybe because of selling. They're selling their products.
What's that product?
The ask now.
Let's be very specific.
Yeah.
It's the ass that is the product.
Okay.
Most people don't even focus more on the boobs. You see, most people it's just the ass because that's what makes them have that hour shape or the coke shape or
Hourglass.
whatever, or
Yes.
hourglass or whatever. So that is I think that those are the two reasons. I think the trend and because of sale of property, of products.
I think that most
people are buying
people
them.
who are doing it is to sell market. In fact,
People are
Blessing
buying them.
CEO confirmed it herself. That's the reason why she did her own.
So that means we can all agree now that one of the primary drivers of that is money.
Money.
Exactly. Because if you,
Money.
like you called it, if you invest money,
Yes.
you expect a return on investment.
Yes. And she mentioned something
Do you understand?
outside here where she mentioned supply and demand.
Exactly.
So-
You're not going to use my words against me. Interesting.
People are demanding for it.
There's
You get
high
it. Men are
demand.
high demand for it.
There's
so
a
you get
demand
more
for it.
eyes on your market.
Because at the end of
And
the
it
day,
sells.
the market has to sell, and it sells. People
Yes.
are buying those markets.
Yes.
So say this you sold your market.
Yes.
Let me do my
Because
market.
if a friend that you know their, financial brackets, and you know how much this thing costs to do. I know that it's possible to say they've been saving for 5 years to do it. Yeah. But to carry that lump sum and go do something like that, you're expecting something.
Definitely.
Now, attention is also currency, especially these days.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to turn eyes. To what end? At the end of the day, that's why I said there's something external. I think that when people say it's my life, nobody tells me what to do. They don't know
In
how
the
much.
subconscious.
Yeah, they don't
There's
know how
something
much
that
of
has
what they
been
do
impressed
comes
on your
from
mind.
outside.
Yes.
To do that.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Because if you follow the beauty standards that society sets,
Yeah.
are you really in control of your life as you assume you
That
are?
is him.
Do you understand?
Or
Are you
society.
really in control of your life? Because, for example, when I started working out, here is the mindset of people. When I started working out, one girl saw me as, so you say won't begin to get babes.
Interesting.
Do you understand? Just harmless working out as a guy.
Yeah.
You won't get abs, you want so that you go to get babes.
Babes. Ah.
And then when you encourage a guy, because of that mindset, you will tell some guys that you should hit the gym and try and lift and start working out. It will tell you girls don't care about six packs.
Yeah.
They care about money.
Money. Yeah.
So look at
Yeah.
it now. So that means that in the idea, because again, if you work out as a guy, you look a certain way,
Yeah.
Definitely.
somehow attractive,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yeah.
Now, so there's the understanding of some people to think that, of course, now for girls to get girls' eyes on you, right?
Right.
As a girl, if you now, because again, at the gym, most girls is lower body they work on. So because they expect to get attention on themselves, so their own endpoint is money. For guys, their own endpoint, supposedly women.
Yeah.
It could be money as well. Because if
Well,
you're
there's that.
broke and you're working out as a guy
Yeah.
and you look nice,
Yeah.
you might find somebody who will fund your lifestyle and just enjoy the eye candy.
Really?
Oh, I've had that offer.
Yes.
No, it's true. It's true. I've had.
So what happens to people like
I
us?
had two
What
different.
happens to people like us?
Do you know that
There is hope.
I like that. Yes. Do you know that if you didn't say this, I mean, if I didn't have this experience and you say this, I would not believe it.
Yeah.
I had 2 different offers, and they really look good. You know, like, with this your body, do you know you can? It was weird to me. I mean, as a church boy, it was weird to me, but you can imagine how much of it goes on. So you see some people, they're always at the gym, and they say it's jobless people that go to the gym. Probably somebody is funding their lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and you see some of this. So
They don't mind spending the money. You just look good.
Just
Just
look
look
good,
good.
yes, and that's please. I want to ask another question, please. I don't know how much it costs to get a regular BBL
it's
here in
irregular.
Nigeria. Because it's not a regular thing. Everybody's doing it. So, like, average costs.
I wish I could put a
Okay.
figure to it, but of course it will run into a
Yeah,
couple
so
of
it's a
millions.
range. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the funny thing? I think, I don't know, I'm not asking, I'm sure if you ask people, those people who have BBL, because everybody is getting BBL, they don't even know what BBL means. If you ask them.
Okay, like
What
the
it means,
full meaning of
the
BBL.
full meaning of BBL, BBL. They just say BBL.
They just know what the acronym.
The
Yeah,
acronym. You know
well,
what we just,
that
we
goes-
just get bomb.
I mean,
Yeah.
just be
I'm
the
sure-
bomb. It works.
But it doesn't matter to them as far as they can't get the
do
money.
do you know the
The-
Yeah,
products.
what's BBL really?
I think it's Brazilian butt lift.
Okay.
That's what it
They're
is.
gonna say
I
because
know what it
it's-
means. But I mean, those who are doing BBL.
Yes, I understand
because
where you're
people,
coming
they don't understand what it means.
So
they
now
don't know.
you've raised awareness.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
now
yeah,
they
help
know,
them to know the
they
meaning
know
of
the
BBL.
meaning of what they are doing.
Hope they watch this.
Or what they're thinking about this. But really, would you get a BBL?
I mean, just a Brazilian butt lift. It's not really big.
Would you-
With all
would you-
the parts of your cheeks
I
and
know
everything
you
you
don't, I
have.
know
You
you
just
don't need it, but with the idea of your body, is it something that you would have?
Going under the knife
Mm.
to do that, I don't think so.
So it's too risky for the worth.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not that important. But do you still consider getting a tattoo?
Yes, it's somewhere in the back burner. One day I'll bring it out to
So
show.
eventually in this life you'll get a tattoo.
she might.
Most likely.
What if she?
If you
Yeah,
would,
she
what
I
would
think
it be?
so.
A butterfly, a bird, a snake? Like these are the things that women. Yeah, they put snake,
I know.
a flower.
But it won't be something because the person that got tattooed last, a lady that she got it because of her husband because they have the same tattoo, so it's a love.
Please don't get it.
And the other side,
I like
when
the
they join
idea. I
hands
like the
together, it
idea
forms the
of
love.
a heartbeat.
or the heartbeats, okay.
Yeah, I like the idea of the heartbeat.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Or
you know
numbers or
The
time Roman.
heartbeats, the heartbeats when you're reading it on the machine. I like that.
Yeah, that if I would get a tattoo,
So where
it
will you
be-
put it? Where will your first tattoo be?
Why do you want to know what my first tattoo
Just
is?
want
You
to
already know. If this type of answer gives you a clue,
Because
you're ready.
ready?
Why do you want to know what my first tattoo is?
Just want to know because the way you're doing
It's curious.
heartbeats,
Yes,
so I just felt
I
like
give you a clue.
so I felt like
I put my
was
finger
assuming, like,
on my
it's meant to
on the
be
Yeah.
inner portion of my
heartbeat.
wrist.
But there's
Because you
something
have
else.
to pause here,
No,
right?
no, there's something else you want to hear,
No, it's
And
not
that's
yours.
not what it is.
but you're not gonna hear it.
No. I was it. Most tattoos are actually gone are the days where people have to put tattoos on their back or their
Oh, they
chest.
still do.
People still do, but I think most people now I see young ladies do. It's probably just hair, their hands, just somewhere, not really even cleavages anymore. People don't really do cleavage anymore.
If I
I'm
would
not
get a
sure.
tattoo, it will be a clef, a music clef.
So I think
Interesting.
people
If-
just
Why get a tattoo and hide it?
Yeah, well, there's that.
Why get a tattoo and put it in a hidden portion of your body?
Well, so there are some that are supposed to be
personal to some
what's the
people.
word now?
Like a
It's-
billboard
It's just
for
for
other people to read?
no for people.
Yeah,
okay, I
like-
know someone that got one because of the mom passed and he put the date of the day. The
Yeah.
mom passed just for remember. I don't know. or
I-
just
Yeah,
put
yeah,
I like
it's
something.
the
okay, but did
sentiment
you
around
put that
it.
at your back? Maybe
No, I
somewhere
think
you
he
can't
did. I think he
see
did it
or-
on his chest.
I-
And
I
had
like-
one in his
Still
hand
visible.
too.
I like the
Yeah.
sentiment around getting, for example, but there's also the other part of, do I really want that memory always? Remembering
People
that I
have
lost
different
this person.
reasons
Yeah.
of doing
Yeah.
things.
Well, I like the sentiment. I had considered doing that once in a while, at a point. So on my laptop, the screensaver is my mom's picture.
Okay.
So each time I open my laptop, that
Yeah,
I can
because you
show.
want to
Okay,
keep
yeah.
their memory alive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just give
yeah.
it a-
Anyway, thank you, one. Thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for helping us, and thank you, Sam, for explaining BBL to some people. Even yeah. But Sam, would you consider getting a tattoo?
Tattoo.
Yeah, as a
Being an artist, being an artist.
Being an
you should
artist,
probably
I've never
get
really
one.
thought of doing it,
This
but I
is
know
my
I
recommendation to you to get a tattoo.
as an artist.
to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or at least pierce your
Okay,
ears.
no, the thing I would do
Do
is
something.
Since she said that, why do you have to hide your tattoo? Why need a tattoo? I probably I will do mine on my face so that everybody can
People
see
do
that
it
I have
on-
Just
tattoo
make
like
sure it's not a
this.
teardrop.
No, I want to
that
teardrop.
is I don't know how I feel about
Make sure it's
it.
not a teardrop because
Maybe a teardrop.
it's quite symbolic.
Is it DJ Sosa? What's his
Yeah, Sose.
Sose
That has
has
this
this
on one
on his face.
aspect
on one
of
hand.
his
See,
face,
that's
yeah.
very artistic.
Well, no, that's very courageous.
Do you?
Yeah,
Do me.
that's very so you should do something artistic.
Let us all
so,
do it.
So that
Don't worry,
we'll
let's take ourselves to
we'll see.
We don't have to do it. We don't have to do it together. Everybody
Don't worry, I'll
should
give
go
you
on their own.
concepts. Don't worry, I'm an artist, so I'll give you concept of what we can create.
Nah, I don't think I'll get it.
I'm not sure too.
I really like the idea. I romanticize the idea a lot. But
Just
really
live with
never
the
got
idea.
myself to
But
do
you,
it.
you have a nice skin anyway, so
Yes, it will pop
It
out
would-
easily.
it
Or
would
like
pop.
that skin like us.
Thank
So
you very
sure.
much.
it would pop. So it means that we're I don't know if I should say we're in support, but it means if you finally
And
decide
when
to
we
do
do it,
it,
we'll
you're
appreciate
good.
it, and we're going to. Oh, it's beautiful.
We'll tell you it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
still thinking.
Your
about
ass
it. Don't
beats.
worry.
You asked me that too.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Let us know what you think about the beauty standard. Do you think that it's something to aspire to? Do you think that we're living our lives for other people and not knowing? Because again, we tell ourselves that I'm doing this for myself, but sometimes it's not for myself. As a woman, you get BBLs so that people can look at you. Essentially, you're doing it for other people, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you want to look a certain way so that people can find you attractive, you're not doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because again, how about how God made you? Are you smarter than God? Are you more intelligent than God? The God conversation is what people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, the religious
Yeah.
aspect
Yeah,
of it.
people
There's
tell
so
you
many
you're
things to
being-
consider.
You're
Religion,
being
culture.
So many
this
things,
culture,
yeah.
there's religion. You're being too religious about it. So let people do whatever they want to
Yeah.
do, including getting
Do
a
you.
tattoo. I would like to see it when you do. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Bye
Thank
bye.